am your host, Rose, and today I have another special guest, because you know they all are special. And her name is Naomi, and she's going to introduce herself. And I'm meeting her for the very first time today, because I spoke with her over the phone. Naomi?
Oh, where do I start? This is such a big question.
Okay, just tell them a little about you, what you do, when you got started, what inspired you.
Okay. I actually started as a young adult in the arts. I was an actress, a dancer, and later on choreographer and director and writer. I had a dance company for about 15 years, like a multimedia dance company. So I'm primarily in my soul an artist.
Okay.
Extremely creative person. At some point in my 30s, I had a huge breakdown.
Wow.
After a separation. I felt so devastated, and I think all the inner child stuff came in, and I, stupid little me, I thought that I was fine. There was nothing wrong with me. I was a successful, fine person. And when that breakup came, all the abandonment
issues came up.
And I felt devastated, destroyed. And that's when I went to therapy for the first time.
Okay.
And I discovered that I was a person filled with pain. And so vulnerable that I couldn't continue with the theater. You know, when you're like auditioning, you're going with a lot of rejection. You're going through a lot of rejections. You really need a tough skin. Something happened to me in those years. I became so brittle. You know, because as we all know, all the inner pain was coming up. So I said, I can't do this. I have to stop for a minute here.
Okay.
And I have to heal myself. And what I did, and my first therapist was a primal therapist. Now, if you know primal, it's very cathartic regressions.
Okay.
Emotional, very deeply emotional kind of method of therapy. You scream and you holler. It's called scream therapy.
Oh.
Yeah, Yanov was the creator of it, and because you regress to such early states, that pre-verbal states, that you're like shaking and making sounds, and you know, you really. So I was doing a lot of that, and at some point, my therapist said to me, "You know, Naomi," he was watching me in group, and he said, "You're a born therapist," and I said, "Whoa, I'm an actor, and I'd like you to respect that." Okay. And then he was saying to me again, like, I think you should go into the training. I think you're a born therapist. And I kept saying, keep your boundaries. Don't tell me that. And you know what? It took 2 years. And one night, that little voice in my head said, "He is right." And I said, "Oh my God, what a boring thing to sit there and listen to people. Why? It is my destiny to do that." But I just knew it was, you know, and I took the training with him. He started the training in his center and did that. And then I said, there's not enough body here in this type of therapy. And I went and I trained in bioenergetics.
Okay.
Which is a lot of body, like how the body and the emotions relate. And then I said, I mean, only like crazy me would do that, because people usually train in one method and that's it. They don't go from one, you know. But I did the primal, and then I did the bioenergetics, and then I said, let me do a little bit of psychodrama, because it's fun. I got to put my artistic, you know. So I went and I did 2 years of psychodrama, and then I did a peer group in Gestalt, which is dialogue, inner dialogues, which I loved.
Okay.
So all this was, it's all like very hands-on, experiential, expressive modalities, which is what I wanted. You know, I didn't want something like just in the head type of therapy, you know. And with all that background, I started my private practice about 25 years ago. And I did some kind of a mix of, like, if a session felt like it was good to go as primal session, I would go into the primal. If it felt like it was like it was calling for an inner dialogue or a dialogue, I would go with Gestalt, you know. And then eventually I said to myself, people need comprehensive method that would tap into their body, their emotions, their inner dialogue and outer dialogues, creativity, life path, where are they going, their life mission, spirituality. And I said, I need to bring all these pieces together. And I started creating processes and exercises and trying them on my clients. And they worked. And I would write them down and put them in a little pile. And after about 7 years, there was a pile that high of processes and exercises. And I put it all out, and I looked at it, and I said, this is a method. And I, you know, organized it all and put it in a big manual and sent it to the patent office.
Oh, wow.
It is in the patent office.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful, very comprehensive, holistic method. It's called Gates of Power.
Okay.
And it really deals with the physical, the emotional, the relating, the spiritual, the creativity, everything. Now, I returned then after 12 years of not being in the theater and feeling like, oh, that's good. I don't need this. Why? What was I thinking? I returned back because it was just calling me back, and I created my dance theater and proceeded to create very wonderful pieces that were very connected to the journey of transformation. And I just closed the theater about 3 or 4 years ago because I started the Institute to promote Gates of Power out there. So you can't do too many. It's too much to do. Yeah. So I want to explain a little bit about Gates of Power. What is that all about? Unless you want to ask me.
No, what is Gate?
What is Gates of Power?
Powers.
Yes.
Yes.
Gates are openings. Channels. Portals. And I found that we have, and this is not the chakras, it's a different system. That we have 7 portals or facets of ourselves. And I call them gates. And they're gates of power because you receive energy through them and you give energy and expression. It's an exchange between you and the universal consciousness. So the first gate is the gate of the body. Obviously, it's a huge gate of expression, our body. And if it's blocked, then we're not as expressive. We're not as much of ourselves. So we do a lot of processes and exercises to understand the body, the energy, to understand what's behind our blockages. What are the feelings? What are the stories? What are the images? What is the meaning that is behind the blockages? And release them. So it's very deep work through the body. The second gate is the gate of emotion. Now, if that gate is blocked, we know that it's not good. No. So, again, I created a whole lot of different processes and exercises to work with the emotions, to understand them, to respect them, to honor them, to read them, to accept them, to release them, to dialogue with them. And we do a lot of creative things like writing and drawing and moving and making sounds in order to explore a feeling and reorganize it or release it, shift it. The next gate is the gate of dialogue. Now, what does that mean? You know, we all dialogue with ourselves.
Yes.
We all do. And we, in dialogue with all life, actually the whole life is one big dialogue. So most of us have a negative dialogue with ourselves.
Thank you.
You know that, yeah.
It's true.
And the way we dialogue with ourselves is going to be the way we dialogue with the world. So it's very important that this primary dialogue would be shifted into a positive, loving, accepting dialogue. And I'm going to stop here for a second and say that I look at the inner space and I see three aspects of the self inside of us that are dialoguing with each other. One is the emotional self, which is what some people call the inner child. But this is the place where all the emotions are. The second aspect is the defensive self. And the defensive self is not bad. It's our survival tactics.
Yes.
It does choke us later on in life, right? But we needed it as children. So we had to build, we had to create that. And some of us became pleasers, some caretakers, some charmers. I became an exceller, which is not good. I excelled in everything, but it was very tiring. You know, like a perfectionist.
Okay.
It's not good, really.
Yes.
You drive yourself crazy. Some people become charmers, life of the party, the jokesters. Whatever you need to do to get love and to get the validation of your family, you do. And that's your defensive self, your protective coat, your strong suit, so to speak. Now, that's emotional, because your defensive is saying, let me handle life, and you, with your baby feelings, just sit in the corner. We don't want to hear you that much. People are not going to like you if they see how whiny and in pain you are and all this craziness. No. Let me be our face in the world. And those two are in conflict, severe conflict. And most people get stuck right here. Thank God we have the third aspect, which is, I call it the expanded self.